Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and appreciate you guys tuning in for today's episode. And guys, today I want to talk about and have a conversation about what happens to bass after they're released in a tournament, in my opinion. You know, I've been around tournaments my whole life, and I've seen tons of different weigh-ins, and I've seen tons of scenarios with that. And I'm sort of going to relate to you guys my experience and what I theorize, what I think happens to a lot of them. So we're going to get into that in today's video, and definitely look forward to hearing your guys' opinion as well. Also, guys, before we get started, I want to share one quick bait with you guys. One of my favorite lures for the month of January coming up is this Megabass Dark Sleeper here. Guys, this is a keel-weighted swim bait, even though you don't fish it like a swim bait. You fish it on the bottom like a jig with this keel weight. It's got the hook protected by the dorsal fin right here, a nice little sharp 2/0 hook, and you just hop it along the bottom like a jig. And guys, this is an excellent lure in cold water, when that water temperature's in the 40s or 50s. Anytime you have water visibility over 3 feet, try this little Dark Sleeper. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video to the Dark Sleeper if you guys would like to order a few. And you can't go wrong, just throw them around main lake points and 10 to 20 foot of water, and you'll catch some fish on it, so appreciate that. Okay, tournament mortality, guys. Let's talk a little bit about this from my perspective here. I've been around tournaments for a long time, and I just want to say right off the bat, and I can say this, I've sort of earned the right to say it by fishing tournaments for almost 50 years. Tournaments are fish kills. They are. And I think that tournament organizations have misled the public a lot over many, many years, not just recently, but over decades, about the true estimate on, live catch release. And here's how I know what that is, because all the tournaments, back when, I was fishing Bassmaster heavily, a lot of the tournaments, they'd give a percentage of the bass that were caught and released alive. And guys, let me give you most of their definition of what a live fish is. If you put a fish in a tank, and if that fish is moving at all, like if there's a fin moving like that, they'll count it alive. Even though that fish is obviously on its way out, it can have the eyes glazed over, the coloration may be turning on it, but the fish is still barely alive, and they will count that fish as alive. And of course, as soon as they put it back in the tank, the thing goes belly up and dies. So a bass like that dies like that, dies from natural causes in the live well. It can die from, being bounced around in the live well, losing its scales. It can be hook deep. It's a lot of different things, but there's a lot of that type of mortality that occurs during the day when the fish are in a live well. And those fish are counted as live fish, and they're not. Those fish will not make it. And then on the other aspect with that is you have fish that are caught deep. A lot of them, like I said, they go belly up, and some of them can or can't be fizzed. And then when you're talking about puncturing, their air bladder to release that gas, that obviously damages the fish some. And then you've got barotrauma issues that come from all the fish being caught with live scope deep that causes internal organ damage and eye damage and delayed mortality as a result with that. Okay, now here's been my experience with it. A lot of this has to do with water temperature, time of year, because obviously some of the better times to have tournaments are during the colder water months of the year, as long as those fish are not caught deep. And the problem you have is when you have cold water tournaments anymore, with the advent of the spotlighting machine, everybody's catching their fish deep. So a lot of these fish are suffering barotrauma issues, and they're suffering delayed mortality from that, from being caught deep, even in cold water. And those fish that are caught in, water, less than 10 or 15 feet deep, they don't have air bladder problems or barotrauma issues. And a lot of those fish do, return to the lake, and they live a, normal life after that in the cold water. So prior to forward-facing sonar, there was a lot more higher percentage of bass release or live when we didn't have the barotrauma issues. Now, the other times of the year is when the water temperature warms up quite a bit. This is when you have a real problem, especially during the post-spawn and summer months. Now, a lot of these fish, after they spawn, they're very weak. And if you have tournaments during the post-spawn, even if the water temperature is not real warm, a lot of those fish don't make it because they are fatigued and they're weak from spawning. And if they get banged around in a live well, they're not going to survive. And a lot of them that are caught out of deeper water areas, in the early summer and during the post-spawn, They don't survive with that simply because of the same reason. And then you couple that with hotter water, warmer water temperatures and lower oxygen levels in the summertime, it just adds up to a fish kill. And I've seen it so many times, guys. I can't remember how many of those FLW tournaments that I fished in June specifically when we were on a ledge lake, that there would be coolers and coolers full of dead bass after the weigh-in there that didn't even make it throughout the course of the day. I mean, coolers of 4 to 6 pounders. I've seen it. And this has been going on forever with that. So the point is bass tournaments kill a lot of fish. They do. They kill, I don't know the percentage of them, but you can go to about any tournament site. I can't tell you how many times that I've been like down to Grand Lake at Wolf Creek, 2 or 3 days after a big tournament, and there'll be dead bass floating everywhere on the bank, within a couple 100 yards of the release area there. Very common. You guys have seen that as well. So they are. I mean, there's no doubt about it that we have lost a lot of bass over the past 30 or 40 years due to tournaments, and we're losing more now than ever, simply because a lot of these fish are getting caught deep. So what needs to be done about it? First of all, if you remove forward-facing sonar from the equation, then you eliminate a lot of the barotrauma deaths from bass out there. And if you encourage people to fish shallower, you're definitely going to save fish even in cooler water. And the obvious one also is to not have tournaments during the warmer weather, specifically during that period of about a month after the bass spawn when they're really weak. Avoid the having tournaments during those times of the year. So if you discourage people from fishing deep, and if you discourage and not allow tournaments in the warmer weather months, you're going to go a long way into reducing the amount of fish mortality and delayed fish mortality. And like I said, I always say one of the things about it is a lot of people say, well, Randy, you don't know what you're talking about because they look at all these tournament weights that they still catch good fish. Guys, don't let that fool you, because I've said before, that is an illusion. It's like we have gotten so good at catching the fish that are still left out there. There's no stone unturned. It's like we know where every fish is with electronic technology. We got all the high-tech lures and equipment on boats to catch them with. And it creates this illusion that the fisheries are more healthy than they are. And the real world of fishing, if you put some dude out there that has just average bass tackle and maybe he's got a 2D sonar unit up front, no GPS, and a 12-volt trolling motor, and you let him out on the lake there, that's a more indicative, realistic, perspective on how good a fishery is. So it's one of those things I don't think it's ever going to change. We don't really have any people that have stepped up as any type of regulatory commission to try to monitor that. You hear a lot of lip talk from tournaments as far as trying to take care of your fish, but a lot of that is lip talk because there's only so much an angler can do. I mean, you can try to keep your live well water cool and aerated and oxygen, but ultimately there's a lot of factors that play into that are even out of the angler's hands. But there, again, are some things that you can do. It just seems like a lot of the organizations aren't willing to do it. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about it. We'll talk later.